Agatha hid inside a cupboard. She was scared, and after some time, she did not know why. She looked through a hole in the cupboard. There was blood everywhere, and the house was scattered. She panted, sweating profusely, almost wanting to cry as she heard muffled screams coming from the distance and swords piercing through them. After the screams and cries increased from her family members, they ended abruptly. She stayed still in the cupboard, still panting, as noises from outside scared her. Noises of continuous radicals were vandalizing the house, and she breathed profusely. A sword pierced through the cupboard, just beside her, as she used her two hands to grip her mouth, preventing her from screaming in shock. Suddenly, the sword was withdrawn back. The saw that was pierced and stained, with blood and dripping footsteps, were moving all over the place. As suddenly as they disturbed, the people had gone. She was shocked beyond repair. At an instant, she burst out in tears, as suddenly full steps approached in the room, and she saw the cardboard open. There a man glanced at her in shock, and she too, at him. She then fell fainting into his arms. Agatha gained consciousness easily. It was blurry around her as she heard muffled voices around her. She's awake. She's awake. Is she awake? Shush. She then unconsciously began to move her head left and right abruptly, and crying, "Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me." After some time, she passed out again. Agatha later woke up again and saw herself in a room. She did not know why she was here. When she inquired, she was very far from home. She did not even know if she had a home any longer. She was confused. She wanted to get a hook on things with inquiry. She was told that she had been brought here by Luke, of the famous rebel group, because her home was attacked, and her entire family was murdered. She was surprisingly the only survivor from the attack. It would seemingly be that Agatha did not remember any of these things she was told or what happened that night. She had presumably lost her memory and did not know where to start from. Agatha, after some time, immediately began to open up to everyone there. She had begun to feel at home because the people there treated her with love. She had been there for over a month, but did not get to see the group leader, Luke. He had not come to see her, but later, when he was told that she had stabilized, he came to visit her. Luke was the person who had saved her. He was presumably the leader of a rebellious group that was Soviet against the government of the Chai Kingdom. They tried everything possible to put through reforms of the government of the Chai Kingdom, since it was not for the people, and did everything possible to work for the people. This made the people warm up to them. They liked and supported Luke's group, and from time to time began membership and popularity. This made them a threat to the Chai Kingdom, who from time to time sent deployments to outlaw these rebels, but to no avail. Luke tried everything he possibly could to be strict, but the people loved him nonetheless, especially his disciples. He was adorable, kind, and calm. He was all of these things but jovial. He was the father to all. He knew that he had to be up to responsibility if he wanted to take care of Luke's group, which was gradually expanding as a whole. At a young age, Luke practiced dark arts, dark magic. This was because he was born with the pearl heart of peril, which it was to him, and he had a life span of 20 years since. He tried not to serve himself, but the community. It was a disease. It was a sickness, and he had a short lifespan. It is only to the knowledge of the elite around him that knows. He has a pearl heart and is sick currently. He had a year to live. He had to find someone who had the sickness as he such hard and make the person fall in love with him once that is achieved, because the person has to hand over the pearl heart willingly, and out of love once they kiss, a chance will be made, and he had transplant. Would occur over the years. Luke had tried nook and crook to look for this person, searching every corner of the earth, and know he had found Agatha, who presumably also had the pearl heart. It was his hopes to woo her and seduce her and get her to fall in love with him, so he could take her heart, or she would give it to him willingly. Until then, he had a year to live. Agatha developed a sense of gratitude and admiration for Luke the minute she saw him. He had heard of her shenanigans shortly after she came. She started to make chaos everywhere. Agatha was now a jovial girl, nonchalant, and also talkative. She was indeed all these things, including innocent. She would make trouble everywhere, one day and during the night, keeping everybody high on their heels. They loved to play with her, but sometimes it was worrisome. In the daytime, she would cause trouble, and at night, she would have bad dreams and unconsciously be in tears. People around her wondered how to calm her down, but Luke understood why she had those bad dreams. The incident had triggered her memory loss and had also affected her. She also had a deadline too, but Luke just wasn't sure and could not confirm when. Here and after, Luke began to make potions for her that would help her sleep, and anytime Agatha would drink it, she would sleep like a baby. This excited and satisfied her. She decided to be fervent and dedicated to her master. From then on, she took up the challenge of cooking meals for him. This was because he was so busy and barely had time to eat. The first time she cooked crab apple cassava meal for him. Looking at her, you could know she's paid no efforts to cook the meal. She had messed up the kitchen, she was dirty, and the food looked burnt. Luke could barely eat it, and gave a poor review. Now, discerning that she did not know how to cook, he told her to refrain from cooking any other meal again, but she refused to and took it as a challenge. Since she was going to learn how to cook and in turn impress him, Agatha took it upon herself to learn how to cook. She wanted to please her master, make herself relevant to him. She stayed up trying to learn how to cook, and finally learned how to cook once again. She cooked the cassava crab apple meal for her master to taste. All his disciples refrained from tasting, as they were not sure what Agatha had prepared. Luke took the risk to taste the food, and after he was pleased, he gave a good review. Agatha said that she had poured her heart into preparing the food, and demanded her master rewards, her pointing to her cheeks, and as she moved her face, he quickly reached for her lips and planted a kiss. A deep kiss, leaving her and the other disciples shocked after he with real she passed motion for a moment, and abruptly ran out of the room. His disciples went on to ask him why her heart did not glow when he kissed her since she said she had pearl heart. He was too inquisitive, but he went on to see it was not yet time. Outside, Agatha was head on heels as she sat at a bridge. She reminisced the moment her master kissed her and continued to blush. She was shy, and she continued to think of it. After that day, she would continue to cook for her master and collect rewards from him. Now the disciples said that this simply would not do, and Luke would have to make Agatha fall for him, as he literally did not have much time. To do that, he will have to woo and seduce Agatha, making her fall for him. Luke tried every freaking thing in the book that there was in making Agatha fall for him, but she didn't budge. She was as innocent as it was, and he was running out of options. He decided to buy her a dog, and he kept it on her doorstep. He was pleased that her master had bought her a dog, and she named him Piggy, adoring the dog. She was so happy, but soon after, she entered Luke's room with food. While he was studying, telling him that she had brought food for him, she told him that she had prepared the food with dog's meat and insisted he enjoyed the meal. Luke was shocked, abruptly devastated, and soon frustrated. She had used the dog he bought as a gift for her to cook food. He was now angry, and told Agatha to live with the food, as he was not eating when Agatha asked the other disciples why he was angry and refused to eat. They told her that he had lost appetite and did not like the dog meat. It just didn't impress him. The disciple decided to come up with another plan, a screenplay drama plan to make Agatha fall for and confess her feelings to him. They planned to stage an attack, and Luke and Agatha went to the markets. Then fake assassins would strike, and Luke would pretend to be in pain, so Agatha would see him dying and confess her love. The disciples made arrangements, and Luke put on a good act. Luke agreed, and as they moved on with the plan, Luke told Agatha to hide and began fighting the assassins. But they discovered that the hired assassins were fewer compared to the ones attacking them. Thereafter, it was discovered that the other ones disguised were real assassins. They immediately came out and helped their master to fight these assassins. A man came from behind and took Agatha, telling her to follow him, as he knows who she is. He further asked her if she did not want to know her true identity. When she told him that she doesn't remember anyone or anything, and certainly does not know him, it turns out that he was the one who lodged the real attack to take Agatha away. Luke noticed this and intercepted from taking Agatha away. It also turns out that Luke knows who this man is, as his name is Paige, one of the princes of the kingdom who detests Luke. He wasn't sure if Paige knew who Agatha was, and told him to keep his hands off Agatha. Paige called his men, and the disciples called their men. Paige asked for a moment to talk with Agatha, as Luke reluctantly agreed. Luke was aware of Paige's nature as a cunning man who would do anything to get what he wants. In the hours and days that Luke used to woo and seduce Agatha, Paige was already doing it within a matter of seconds, as she was now interested in him and wanted to know more about herself from him. Luke was inquisitive. He wanted to know if Paige was feeding Agatha lies, or if he truly knew her. Nonetheless, he knew that Paige's intentions were not pure, and he did not want to see him near Agatha. So he was very watchful of Paige every time he was near Agatha or talking to her. He did not want Paige to do anything funny. The disciples noted that Luke was in competition and had to act fast. Luke started to steal every moment to be with Agatha, so that Paige wouldn't have any moment with her. He continued to woo and seduce Agatha, as they were now falling for each other. Luke now began to care for Agatha. He wasn't sure of his intentions any longer, or what he even planned to do. He now wanted Agatha to be safe and live long. Unknowingly, he now cared for Agatha. Agatha, on the other hand, wasn't sure if her feelings for her master were founded on admiration and respect as well as reverence, and not that she loved him effortlessly, because she cared about him and did not want to see him hurt, whereas Luke was extremely jealous anytime that Paige took Agatha for a chat and walked down the lake. Sometimes he would follow them, making them uncomfortable, and sometimes he would spy on them and even eavesdrop on their conversations. One of the disciples noticed this. He wanted to bring Luke and Agatha together, as he in turn wasn't sure of Paige's intentions. He began to keep Agatha hooked up in the library with intriguing books as they would please her master. She wanted to please Luke. She found a book about the Pearl Hearts and asked the disciples if what she read was true, but they denied it, saying that it does not exist and that she does not know what she's talking about. She also read another book. The disciple showed her about it, pleasing Luke. Longing for My Heart, the book was called. It was erotic, but Agatha was innocent and could not understand it. The only thing she learned from the book was pair study, which meant sex. She asked the disciple, who told her it was a form of martial arts, and that she should meet Luke, as he would be the best person to teach her. Agatha cooked a meal for Luke and went to meet him. As he enjoyed his meal, she asked him that she wanted to learn pair study and that Luke should teach her. Luke was abruptly shocked and stopped eating immediately. He asked her if she understood what she was asking and who told her about it. She said it was one of the disciples, who told her it was a form of martial arts, and that he could teach her. That's why she came to him, begging him to teach her. But he refused and told her to leave. Agatha did not give up. She continued asking him to teach her how to do pair study, but every time she asked him, he would abruptly reject her. One time, she prepared food for him, and while he was eating, she asked him, but he knew what she wanted to ask, and quickly put a spoon of food in her mouth, so that she would not talk. Another time, he kept her mute before she could even speak. Agatha wondered why her master wouldn't want to teach her pair study. He approached Paige completely to him, telling him that Luke wouldn't teach her pair study. He then proceeded to tell her that he would teach her. She was excited, saying that Paige would teach her pair study. Paige was immediately shocked when Agatha mentioned it, now understanding why Luke refused to teach her, but after a sudden moment, he agreed to teach her pair study, stating that she was just a beginner. Luke was in his chambers when suddenly one of his disciples bumped in, telling him that Agatha was rejoicing that Paige had agreed to teach her pair study. He was shocked and immediately suited up and rushed out. As he approached Paige's chambers, he heard muffled moans, which got him scared. He moved faster into Paige's chambers as he heard Agatha shouting, "Don't disturb us, we are having pair study." Hearing it, he immediately barged in to find out that Paige was helping Agatha stretch. He was relieved. Agatha was shocked to see Luke and the others. She questioned why they were there, as a disciple replied that they were worked up and worried that Agatha and Paige were having pair study. But Agatha immediately asked why they were worried, since she had asked Luke to teach her, and each time she asked him, he would refuse her, and now Paige had accepted to teach her. Hearing it from Agatha sounded very weird to all of them, including Luke and Paige. They tried to stop her from saying it. Agatha wondered why, and asked them why she could not even mention the name. They thereafter told her that having pair study meant having sex, and it was not any martial art. The disciple who had told her about it had deceived her. Agatha was shocked. immediately reminiscing the moments she had disturbed. Luke asking him for a pair study, as it made her seem desperate. She immediately bumped out of the room, feeling very shy as she had now realized what she had done. She refrained from seeing Master for some days until he decided to come see her, and thereafter apologized for the time she had bothered him about the pair study, to which he gave no reply, knowing what she meant, but simply stating that she was innocent, and did not know what she was saying. At a sudden time, Luke fell sick and was now on his wheelchair. She realized that the potions they were giving him were just making him temporarily well. Now this time was getting up, even though Agatha wasn't aware of this. She needed a permanent solution to this disease. She asked all the disciples, but none of them answered her, and just said that they did not know, which disturbed her. In her plight, she went to complain to Paige, asking if he also had no idea. He asked her if she really cared about her master and wanted him well, to which she nodded in affirmation. He then went on to tell her that what she was looking for was a snow lotus, which was found in the snow mountains. It was very rare, and she would have difficulty finding it there. But she was adamant and agreed to go to the mountains in search of this snow lotus. When Luke recovered after not seeing Agatha for some time, he inquired about her, but all the disciples knew was that she was in search of a cure for his predicament. Luke was now worried. He asked Paige, suspecting him, who told Luke that he knew of his intentions, as they were not pure as well, and he knew of his ploy to make Agatha fall for him and give him her pearl heart. He assured Luke that he would not let that happen, that he had sent Agatha to the snow mountains to find the snow lotus, which would be used to cure Luke. Luke was distraught. Paige had exposed Agatha to such danger. He dragged Paige by his collar, warning him that if anything were to happen to Agatha, he would not spare him. Paige now saw that Luke loved Agatha just as much as she loved him, and would do anything for her, as he had hoped. But all he had were Agatha's best interests at heart. Luke immediately began his journey to the snow mountains, where he could find Agatha. When he found her, she was covered in snow and was unconscious. He had also seen that she had found this snow lotus. Luke panicked. He tried getting her revived, but failed. In tears, he kissed her, calling her a chance as he placed his palm on hers. A heart transplant began to take effect. Luke managed to transfer half of his heart to her. She was revived, but still unconscious. Luke became weak. He managed to gather his remaining strength to take her home and ordered for Paige to be locked up. Luke was with Agatha all the way until she regained consciousness. He then hugged her, though scolding her for taking such a rash decision. But then she said all she wanted was for her master to recover hale and hearty, and that she hoped he had taken the snow lotus portion. He agreed, and told her that he had taken it, and now he is well. She was very happy and joyous. She asked to see Paige to thank him for providing a solution, but he was nowhere to be seen. She asked all the disciples, but none gave her any answer. She also asked Luke, but he did not answer her, ignoring her, knowing that they probably knew where Paige was, but did not want to tell her. Agatha refrained from seeing Luke. She withdrew herself to her quarters in solitude, which bothered Luke. He did not like Agatha's condition but also could not tell her where Paige was. He did not want her to fall prey to his schemes and ploys. Suddenly, Luke fainted, and as Agatha came to see Luke, she overheard wailing and crying in the room. She was shocked to know that Luke still had the disease until she heard one disciple crying, asking the other why Luke had refused to take Agatha's pale hearts and recover, and why he is ready to die because of Agatha. This shocked her to know that the tale she had read on the Perilous Heart was actually true, and that Luke had only brought her here for her heart. Agatha was distraught, reminiscing all the moments she had with her master. As she retraced her steps around, she felt shattered and betrayed. All those memories were a lie, and they were not true. She did not know what to trust or believe anymore. The disciples had figured that Luke had given half of his heart to Agatha and had very little time left anticipated to live. They were shattered. Luke was now falling for Agatha instead of the other way round. After some time, Luke gained consciousness, and for days passed without Agatha coming to see him. After he regained some strength, he went to visit Agatha, asking why she did not come, even though it was for the sake of him being her master and if she really loved and cared for Paige so much that she was willing to turn her back on her master. Agatha did not answer him. She went straight to him on his wheelchair and planted a deep kiss on his lips, which shocked Luke as she kissed him. Their hearts leaped and glue, and she evidently saw the lights. She was astounded, and said, "So it's true. The story about the Perilous Heart is true. So you brought me here for my pearl heart, didn't you?" she asked. But Luke just stared at her, not knowing what to answer. "I love you, and I am ready to sacrifice my heart for you. What about you? Do you love me? Are you ready to sacrifice your heart for me?" she asked again, as Luke continued to stare at her, and she ran away in tears, receiving no answer. Suddenly, Luke's heart ached. "I love you so much, Agatha. How can I not be willing to sacrifice my heart for you?" he said, as he placed his hand on his chest in pain. As Agatha ran, she also felt his steady heartache, and her head fell out of balance as she fell, memories of her past flashing before her eyes, memories of the incident that happened that night. As she suddenly burst into tears, Luke came to visit Agatha to tell her where Paige was, as she should go and meet him. He was tired of her being this way. As he moved his wheelchair beside her to see that she was in tears, he was now bothered, wondering what would make her cry. Immediately, Agatha grabbed a pin and stabbed him in his chest, leaving him in shock, asking why she stabbed him in the chest. She also asked him why he killed her parents and entire family. Luke once again didn't have any answer for her. As she continued asking why, suddenly she passed out and fell into his arms. Luke got himself treated and Paige released. When Agatha recovered and woke up, she discovered that she was no longer in Luke's villa, but was now in Paige's villa. For now, it served her right. Luke had sent her away with Paige, who he trusted to keep her safe. He did not want her heart again. He wanted her to live long and happy, whereas Agatha was not happy. She was so dull in Paige's villa, and made no sound, no words uttered, nothing. She just remained in solitude. This moved Paige, the troublemaker. Agatha, who was jovial, was no more. Sadness was also revolving around Luke's villa, as the disciples were destroyed to know that Luke had sent Agatha away. He confounded to make do with his heart, and if death comes, to gladly embrace it. They were not at all happy with the recent turnout of events as Luke also confined himself to his chambers too. But after a period of silence and gloom, the disciples did not know what to do about it. Paige was also bothered. He now wanted Agatha to heal, if that was what it was going to take for her to restore back to her former self. He told Agatha that Luke was not the one who killed her parents. It was a troop sent by one of the king's generals, because Agatha's parents had power, and they were a threat. Paige was also a prince, and was friendly there to Agatha. When she lost her parents, he was distraught, and looked for her, only to find her in Luke's residence. He went forth to tell Agatha that the troop that had attacked her family had also been sent to attack the Lucas residence, and Luke may be in danger, that he just got the intel, and in a hurry. Agatha and Paige went to the Lucas villa to find it under attack. Agatha, using the sword combat skills that she had learned from Luke, helped him to disperse the enemy. She told him once again that she loves him and apologized for abandoning him, promising him that she would never leave him again and would always love him. Just then, one of the enemy troops pierced a sword through Luke, and he was bleeding profusely. Agatha cried as Luke told her that he loves her also, and she should promise him that she would live long. She promised him after begging him not to leave her. Luke gave Agatha a deep kiss and placed his palm on hers as they kissed. A heart transplant began, and he transferred the rest of his heart to Agatha, telling her once again to promise him that she would live well and love for the both of them. She told him that her love is sufficient for the both of them, and is not so weak that it would die.